Well, we have now learned a stunning thing, a shocking thing. It is, in fact, possible to be prosecuted for lying to Congress, unless you're a member of the deep state. I was just left with my jaw hanging open yesterday during the show when we watched Mr. Cohen, Trump's attorney, who is not a good guy. Not in his own personal business dealings. He has been rightfully convicted of crimes having to do with the taxi stuff he runs and all that. That's one thing. But Mr. Cohen actually prosecuted, led to a plea yesterday for lying to Congress. Stunning. Now, lying to Congress is a felony if you do it under oath. Carries up to 5 years in prison. If you've listened to the show for any length of time, you have heard me rail on and on and on about the flagrant deep state lies by FBI officials under oath, by our intelligence officials under oath. It has driven me stark raving mad. In fact, it is why I call the FBI, because they do so much lying under oath. Every time a felony, it is very disquieting to watch the top law enforcement officials of your country commit felonies on national television. It's jarring. And perhaps the reason it upsets me so much, and I have spent so much time on it over the last 2 years, is because of the endless hours for very low pay that I spent in the courtroom as a crime reporter in Charlotte. The number of low-level individuals, gang members, thugs, shoplifters, felons, who were sentenced before my very eyes for doing what? I'm sorry, what? Lying under oath. Lying under oath. Can't do it. Lying to police officers as part of a conspiracy to cover up a crime. And then for me personally, having sat in the courtroom and watched that in big cases, in small cases, in federal court as well as county court, to see the top law enforcement officials in our country do it with complete immunity on national television, I'm sorry, it spins me out. It looks like a banana republic. So if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, you know how that flips me out. You know why. And you know why I call them the FBI. They are a criminal conspiracy, at least at the top. Below, who knows how deep it goes. They are a criminal conspiracy that commits crimes to cover up their own crimes. That is terrifying, given the amount of power they have. So yesterday, to watch Trump's attorney actually prosecuted for lying to Congress was simply stunning. Like in the way regular Americans are, as I watched in court in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, I want to play for you quickly. Stick with us for a minute. What he lied about. And then I'm going to play for you the top law enforcement officials in our country committing the same crimes under oath, except when the top law officials in our country committed those felonies. They were lying about something of extreme importance to the country. They were lying about whether they spied illegally on members of Congress. They were lying about whether they were spying illegally on you. They were lying about whether they had concocted, created a roving spy system reminiscent of an authoritarian regime, a crime in itself. So these law enforcement officials were lying to cover up actual crimes they committed, unlike Mr. Cohen. So let me play you what Cohen's in hot water for lying to Congress about.
What he told the Senate committee, I'm going to read it here, is the following. On the timing, he said the proposal was under consideration at the Trump Organization from September 2015 until the end of January 2016. What he's told the court this morning is that, in fact, the discussions continued until June of 2016, so several months later. In addition, he goes on to discuss possible travel to Moscow connected to this project. He states, I never considered asking Mr. Trump to travel to Russia in connection with this proposal. I told Mr. Sater that Mr. Trump would not travel to Russia unless there was a definitive agreement in place. To the best of my knowledge, Mr. Trump was never in contact with anyone about this proposal other than me on 2 occasions.
I'm bored. There's no crime here. There's no crime. In fact, it states that in the court documents. The crime is he lied to Congress about the dates. Okay, let's listen to the top law enforcement officials in our country committing the same crime to cover up other crimes. Ready for that? Tucker Carlson did a brilliant job of it yesterday. I delineated this on my show yesterday, the second half, and I wanted you to hear it, but Tucker did a better job last night, so I'm going to let him do it for you. This is terrifying. This is what goes on in an authoritarian regime, and I want you to know that every one of these lies was never prosecuted.
Michael Cohen is facing 5 years in prison for telling Congress something that he knew was false. How often does that happen in Washington? If you watch C-SPAN, you know the answer. Constantly. All the time. There are almost never consequences, by the way. According to one study, between the Second World War and 2007, a total of only 6 people were convicted of lying to Congress. 6 people in 60 years. In other words, the law is not enforced, and that's why people break it so often. Watch this sworn testimony from 2013. This is not someone you haven't heard of. This is the then Director of National Intelligence, Jim Clapper, assuring the Congress under oath that the NSA absolutely does not spy on American citizens.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Yeah. Clapper lied. He's a liar. There's no debate about that. And yet he wasn't charged for lying under oath. In fact, Clapper got richer after he retired. CNN hired him as an analyst.
Okay, the reason that Clapper lied was because that collection was illegal. They are collecting that on every American. Can't do it. Not without a court order. They did it. That's why he lied. He lied to cover up crimes. What were the crimes Cohen lied to cover up? None. See, the difference between Clapper and Cohen is the crimes that Clapper committed were against you and me and your family and your friends. And by the way, Clapper later admitted he lied. And I documented it every few months or so on this show as the statute of limitations ran out without a prosecution against Clapper for the spying and for the lying. Under oath to Congress, a felony carrying 5 years. But there's more. There's more. See, the way it works in our country now is that if you lie to the FBI, that's a crime if you're in the wrong party and support the wrong people. But when the FBI lies to you, they get rich. They get speaking gigs. They get book contracts. They get commentary contracts. They end up independently wealthy. Like this guy, after he lied to you under oath.
In 2017, Comey claimed, again under oath, that he had never been an anonymous source for news stories while he worked at the FBI. Watch him tell that lie to the Congress.
Director Comey, have you ever been an anonymous source in news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
Never.
Have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports about the Trump investigation or the Clinton investigation?
No.
Whoa. Okay. So here we have Comey lying under oath about the Trump investigation itself. No prosecution. He's FBI, untouchable. And when you have law enforcement agents at the top who are untouchable, and yeah, Comey got fired, but he's never been politically prosecuted. You live in a police state. I hate to break that to anybody this morning. I don't think that's an exaggeration given what you just heard. Now, what was Grassley asking him about there? Were you a source? Did you authorize anybody else to be a source? Why did he care about the leaking? Because you remember why they were leaking? They wanted to spy on the president illegally. And they had a lot of the FISA court. Well, by the way, that's perjury too. For which they were censored by the FISA court, felony, 5 years of prison. So they needed evidence to lie to the FISA court so they could spy on the president's campaign, get the upper hand for Hillary Clinton, right? But they didn't have any evidence. So do you remember what they did? They leaked fake evidence to the media. They leaked real evidence that was classified, another crime, to the media, put a spin on it, and made it look criminal. They then took the media clips in which they were anonymous sources to the FISA court and said, we've got to investigate this. They didn't tell the FISA court they were the anonymous sources. Another crime, but hell, what the heck? There's such a long list. I can't even keep track. I don't know what we do with these people. I don't know where we are now. I just don't know. This is not a defense of Cohen. This is a description of a dual justice system, a broken justice system, a justice system that ought to terrify everyone who understands it.